Hey, this is Trader Travis, and I'm back with another training video for you. This is going to be the U.S. election edition, because in this video, what I'm going to do is talk about a trade or a strategy you can employ to take advantage of the U.S. election if that's your thing to do. It's not my thing to do. It's not my style of investing, and I'll kind of talk about that. But somebody asked me, hey, Travis, what is a strategy I can use to take advantage of the election? And so I kind of want to talk about that. And then about minute 650, almost 7 minutes in, I will end with my thoughts on the election, where I stand politically, things like that, and just my viewpoint on the US in general. So let me load up this snippet. I record it with my co-trainer for members of my trading community. See you in a bit. This is not me. I don't do the whole gimmicky like election trade. Someone asks me, hey, I want to do an election trade. I'm like that's not how I invest anymore. That's kind of a hack or trick. Like, I'm more of a long term. Let me set up a plan that wins in the long term, no matter what happens. But I did think of it. The question was bothering me. I was like, you know what? There is probably an election hack or trade you potentially could make. And I was like, straddle or strangle, but depending on how you do it. But I think the market kind of going to trade sideways for a bit until the election is over, and then whatever the results are. I listened to Grant Cardone's video. He actually is a video he released. I think it was called Trump versus Biden or something like that. He's a real estate business guy, and his thinking sometimes aligns with mine a lot. In this particular video, it did strongly, because I was like, I've never heard anybody echo what I was thinking in my head. No matter who wins, 50% of the country is going to be upset. Like 50% of the country is going to be ecstatic. 50% of the country think it's going to be the end of the world, no matter who wins, right? It's like crazy. But he was like, what you have to do and what I do, he's like, you have to figure out, what are you going to do if the person you want to win wins? And what are you going to do if the person who you want to win loses? Like, you come up with a plan, right? Because at the end of the day, you're responsible for your life, what decisions you're going to make, and things like that. It was a really good video, so I don't want to rehash what he said because I probably could screw it up. But basically, I think because here in the U.S., we're trading the U.S. stock market, we have that wild card coming up. There's a lot of uncertainty in the air. So I don't think we're going to get much exciting movement from the market until the election is over. Then we might face some initial volatility, like we did when our current president first got elected. The market, I think, fell pretty hard, pretty fast, but then it settled out and did what it usually does, go back up. You know what? I do have, okay. So here's a guy, I like the way he thinks, Peter Malik. And he said, regardless of who's in power, the market always finds a way. And so you can look at all these administrations, always from the Great Depression, Hoover, Roosevelt, Eisenhower, Kennedy, think about all the world events that happened, Cuban Missile Crisis, terrorist attacks, Hurricane Katrina. I mean, all kinds of things have happened, right? But it doesn't matter who's in power, the market finds a way. So that's kind of how I think now. It doesn't matter who gets elected. My goal is always to make a plan to win no matter what, right? I'm in control of my life. If some policies are created where it negatively affects my finances, well, I'm going to whine and complain like I'm a victim. No, I'm a winner. I'm like, oh, that's cool. Like, it becomes like a chess game. Like, how can I outsmart this legally, right? How can I make sure that this doesn't hurt me? Because it only hurts the uneducated and uninformed, right? Doesn't hurt the ones who are choosing to be smart. Like, oh, that's a different policy. Oh, let me kind of outsmart that. Will it always be easy to do? No, but it's kind of a fun challenge if you look at it that way. Instead of looking at it like you're a victim, you kind of look at it in the eyes of a winner, and you decide no matter what, you're always going to be out on top. But I do want to show you this graph. It doesn't matter who gets elected, the market is always going to find a way to do what it wants to do. And I don't think it's going to do much until that happens, until people figure out which direction we're going to go. All right, so current president gets reelected, more of the same. Most people know that. So new person gets elected, there's little uncertainty. So you're going to have a little bit of fear because people are uncertain. They don't know how the policies, will be enacted. So you can expect to see that uncertainty reflected in the market. So, but regardless, we don't know which direction it will go. So we could do straddle or strangle, is where you buy a call and put. But if I was doing this, and this leads to part of, I'm going to actually move up my agenda. I'm going to talk about mindset. I was going to talk about it last, but I'm going to talk about it first. So this goes to mindset, how a person thinks, because how a person thinks dictates the actions they take. So my mindset is no matter who's in power, the market always finds a way. So I'm going to pull this back up, right? So long term, I am bullish. So my election trade, if I was going to make one, which I don't think I will, would be, let me buy a long-term call option, a leap call option, going out, probably December has better open interest here than the January one that just opened up. So long-term, I would be bullish. But what if I feel like there's going to be a little crash around the election, uncertainty? So short-term, I would be neutral to bearish or just uncertain, and I wanted to protect myself. So I could buy a long-term call. Let's say I only spent 1,000. Then I could buy short-term puts that will take me through the election. Maybe the puts have 59 days expiration or something like that, but I won't spend 1,000. I might spend 500, because if the market crashes, those puts are going to like go up in value so quick because the market crashes really fast. So those $500 puts will double in value, really quickly, right? If that happens, my trade plan, I wouldn't like hold on to them, right? I'm not bearish long term. I'd sell those puts for a profit, take my profit, buy more calls, right? More long-term calls. So if I was doing an election trade, that's kind of how I would handle it. So that only handles one direction. If the market falls, sell my puts for a profit, take the profit, buy more long-term calls. What if the market goes up? Well, I already have long-term calls in place to take advantage of that. I lose on my puts. So, the uncertainty that I thought might happen didn't happen. That's my confirmation. I'd sell my puts. They would have already lost some value, so maybe I'd recoup 200. But that's kind of how I would think through it. And so I'm back. And so I decided, I had to think about this long and hard and ask my wife, should I really talk about this? Because I am a trading, wealth building guy. I'm definitely not into politics. I'm largely a spectator, right? And I'm not that informed at all. We don't even have TV. I don't watch the news. I hear things here and there. I can piece together opinions like anybody, but I'm largely a bystander. But I did want to share where I stand. If people want to learn from me, they should know where I stand, right? What are my beliefs and core values? And if they disagree with them, they can go learn from somebody who reflects their values. That's their choice. That's their right. I fully support that. And so what I wanted to talk about is kind of my heart is heavy, right? When I look out at my country, I don't like what I see. It seems like there's so much division, right? I don't see a lot of, well, this is me. I could be biased. Again, I don't see much unity, or I'll put it this way. I don't see as much unity as I would like to see. We can disagree, but maybe we can find a middle ground or something like that. But again, that's just not how politics, at least my interpretation of how politics are devised here. It seems like it's created to create division, and I'm not for division. It's why in college I didn't join any groups or things like that, pledging to any fraternities and things like that, because I had a strong aversion to anything that created division and separation between people. I was about unity and bringing people together. That's just my core values and where I stand. Now, as far as politically, I'm honestly, like I said, a spectator. So if you're hoping to me to say, yeah, support making America great again, not happening. Or if you wanted me to support the other guy, not happening, because again, I'm largely a spectator. I do have values, like I believe in taking personal responsibility for life and taking ownership. Not everything is your fault, but I believe it's your responsibility to do something about the problems that dropped in your lap, even if they're your fault or not. I'm a minority, obviously, if you can't tell. I grew up poor, American poor, not third world country poor, but American poor in America, which I'm super thankful, and also I feel bad for my mom, my grandma, and all of them. They didn't have a lot of the opportunities I have because policies were different back then. Segregation, slavery, whatever you want to call it. So they didn't have the opportunity like me to rise up from poverty to become, financially independent. And so that experience gives me a unique perspective. I know what it feels like to be disadvantaged, to be judged, to have people kind of count you out and kind of look at you negatively, like you're poor because you're lazy and you don't want a better life, right? To judge you, not having any kind of empathy, like, well, no, maybe I'm poor because I don't have anybody to teach me how to get rich like you or to help me out, right? I also have experiences where people are like, oh, everything a certain party, everything, they look at everything through the lens of race, right? And there's some truth to that. And some of the challenges I have with other minorities is, yeah, it seems like everything's about race. I'm like, not everything's about race. Some things are about race, but not everything. But I also understand that, well, sometimes it's easy to think that way because you go through life and it's like, well, you keep telling me not everything's about race, but I keep feeling like everything is about race, right? So one minor example of many is, okay, I have friends who do not have this experience that I have of constantly getting pulled over by cops, having guns drawn on you, right? No legal reason to pull me over. I don't speed. I have to optimize my life to not deal with cops, right? What they say things like your license showed expired, or one time they say my wife fit the description of somebody that was kidnapped. All these made up reasons to pull me over, right? I had zero legal reason to pull me over, but they made up reasons. And then when I reach for my license and registration too quick, they pull guns on me. I have non-minority friends who don't have that experience. So what am I supposed to say? Like, how am I supposed to view that? Like, how come I keep having these experiences, but you don't? Or one with our kids, I didn't see this. And maybe I was thankful because I don't know if I would have been able to maintain my composure. My wife took our kids to a Easter egg hunt around where we live. Okay, and this elderly guy was looking at our kids and saying disgusting comments about them, like, what are they doing here, right? Like telling his son to take candy from us or to get the candy before we got it, and then making comments like, obviously they're in the wrong place. Somebody must have dropped them off, and saying it super mean, right? Again, I have non-minority friends. I'm like, when you take your kids places, do you have experiences like that? Because we do, right? That's just one of many. So again, people say, well, you shouldn't look at everything like race. And it's like, well, sometimes it's kind of hard not to. I'm like, I don't get why would he say something like that? I really don't know. I didn't talk to him, but it leaves you wondering, right? But at the end of the day, again, I believe in taking personal responsibility. How he treats us, how he views us, that's his issue, not mine. Same thing I teach my kids. That's their issue, not yours. Don't make it your issue. You make it your issue if you allow their negativity to negatively influence your attitude. So how they treat you is a reflection of their values. How you respond is a reflection of your values. Okay, so that's where I stand on all that. Right. So yes, I'm a person who believes in taking personal responsibility. I know in this day and age that it's possible, not always likely for most people, but it's possible for a minority to rise from where they're at to a level of financial independence, despite a viewpoint of demand is holding you back, right? A lot of things can't hold you back if you're determined to be a winner. So yeah, sometimes I feel like a lot of minorities whine about that and just are whiny victims. And since I'm an equal opportunity offender, let me talk about the other side. There are people who are privileged who are also whiny little victims, right? And they use their privilege to hold people back. Now, I believe privilege exists, and I'm a person who believes in taking 100% advantage of my privilege in life. But on the flip side, I also don't believe in using my privilege to hold people back or to suppress people, right? So there are people who complain about the country's, people want to turn it to a socialist country and, oh, my insurance went up because of Obamacare, right? It's like, stop whining, right? Two entirely different groups. The poor whining about some man holding them back and, oh, it's racist policies holding me back. Then you got the privileged whining about the country's turning into a socialist country and their insurance is going up because of Obamacare. They're both whiny people, right? And I don't believe in that. I believe in taking personal responsibility. Did my insurance go up after Obamacare was initiated? Yeah, a lot. Was I happy about it? No. But again, because I believe in taking personal responsibility, it's like, why the heck am I going to whine about it? I just found a solution. I didn't either earn more money or find a way to lower my insurance. And I did both. So did that policy negatively affect me at the end? No, because I took personal responsibility. My insurance, people are like, I want to do something about it. I want to vote. I want to vote to get rid of Obamacare. That's not taking personal responsibility to me. That's, outsourcing your responsibility to some politician, right? No, I need to take responsibility if I didn't like that, and I didn't. I found a way to earn more, and unfortunately, through a series of events, we actually wound up finding a way to lower our insurance. So the fact that our insurance went up wound up being a blessing. And lastly, when I talked about privilege, I don't know much about Obamacare. I'm not an expert in analyzing all that stuff, and I really don't want to put the time into analyzing all that. But let's say in theory, it was created so that people who had trouble getting insurance could get insurance, right? People who really needed insurance could get insurance. Now, if my insurance goes up, a few $100s so that someone else can get insurance, I am honestly fine with that. Why? Because I'm privileged. And I am a person who does not mind paying a little out of my pocket to help out somebody else. It's why I'm a coach. I believe in helping out other people. That's what I mean. I believe in taking full advantage of my privilege, but I don't want to use my privilege to hold people back or be like, I got mine, screw you, right? So I honestly don't mind helping out other people to an extent, right? I don't believe in the whole Robin Hood theory, rob from the rich, give to the poor. I'm like, I believe in helping out the poor, but also empowering the poor to make better choices so that they're not poor anymore. So a helping hand up. So give people assistance, to get out of their situations, but not enable them to stay and remain the same, to take away their motivation to want to do better. So I'm in the middle of most policies, but I just wanted to share a little bit about where I stand, and I hope this helped you understand me a little bit better. So you take care, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.